All right, so I got some questions this morning about dec404 and how returns work and what kind of numbers we're looking at. So what I did was I tell them that the optimum place to have your playing decks is in the silver leagues. So what I did was I went through a bunch of my accounts and I looked at the rewards over the last few seasons. And so these are all in the silver, maybe low gold range, and those are just the ones I happen to have. And I took a look at their earnings. And average number right there is 2889. So 2889 dark energy crystals per season. And so that's, I think, a decent number to work with because we've got a fair amount of data here from, what is this, 12 accounts, something like that? 15 accounts. So 15 accounts over 51, 52, 53, 54. So after 4 seasons. And obviously we're in season 55 right now, so those numbers are incomplete. So yeah, we got 60 data points, which is a decent start. So 2889 as far as the earning potential. Okay, so then we have to say, in terms of return, what kind of amount is that on? So let's do 2889 times 24 seasons a year. It's 69,000 dark energy crystals per year for both the gamer or for the player and for the owner. So obviously the price of dark energy crystals fluctuates, but let's say 0.0009. All right, so it's 62 bucks. 62 bucks per deck. And then, compared to what? So here, monstermarket.io has a great cost estimator tool. You go into tools here and cost estimator right there, top one. And you can kind of build model decks in here. And so here, what I did was I said, okay, I want all, I want Untamed and Reward, and, with all splinters. A Silver League, and I excluded Legendary Summoners, I excluded 2 mana summoners, and I excluded Legendary Monsters. So, and then you click Calculate, and you come up with this number, 401. So 401 is, so we take 62.4 divided by 401, that's 15%. 15% return annualized. So that's, okay. I mean, it's better than anything you'll get in the stock market. Plus you actually, when you're talking about returns, you have to talk about total return. So we have cash flow in terms of the dark energy crystals, but then we also have, the asset appreciations. And obviously who knows what that'll be, but it's going to be, positive, I think. So you always have to factor that in the back of your mind in terms of these kinds of allocations, because, at the end of this, whatever the end might be for you, then you have something you can then sell because you still have the cards themselves. So 15% as a base, not bad, but we can do a little bit better. So for example, we don't need every splinter. You actually only need 4 out of the 5 elemental splinters plus neutrals. So if we take out, I don't know, let's say Earth, and we take out Dragon, because the only Dragon that you actually need is 1 summoner, because you can always play a Dragon Quest. I'm not even sure Dragon Quests are in silver, but you play Dragon Quest with any elemental monsters, you just need that 1 Dragon Summoner. So if I'm looking down here, Baba Contessa, Warching, Daria, Drake of Arnak. So Drake of Arnak is a Dragon Summoner. Daria is a Dragon Summoner right there. And you'd only need 1 of those and no other dragons in order to complete the Dragon Quest. So let's go ahead and calculate the cost. So now we're down to 308. Now we do have to add $9 back for 1 of those summoners, but so now we're getting there. So we don't need every card. We don't need every common, every rare, every epic, but it gives you an idea at least. So like Warchang, Warchang's a great card, not that useful, I don't think. So I would say, nix that. That's $9 gone. You do need the summoners; those are obviously required, but you can go through and you can pick and choose. So in Untamed, like in beta, there's 4 commons, there's 4 rares in each splinter. So maybe you only need 3 of them, and you can cut out a good bit of your cost there. So maybe you don't even want to bother with the rewards cards. Maybe you just want Untamed, and now we're down to 170, 169. So now all of a sudden, it would take that 62.4, let's divide by 170, that's 36%, So, maybe it's somewhere in between, right? So 62.4 divided by 1, or let's say 220. So now we're at 28%. So, I mean, it's going to be in that bracket, 15% to 32%, something like that, median 25% annualized returns. And yeah, so that's kind of the numbers that we're dealing with. Now the issue with silver is that if you're only playing 1 deck, then you have significant volatility, because if you look at my numbers here, so like this Burma Bright, which is one of my NASCAR accounts, so it was 3276, 2248, 10,607, and then 1716. And I got a gold foil epic reward card in there. So that's that kind of randomness is a factor, because you're dealing with a smaller number of loot chests over the whole course of things. Here's one that's just been kind of sucking for the last couple seasons, 1500, 1700, 2100, 1100. So when you have in mind these averages, you just have to think of that in terms of averages, and the volatility around that. So I mean, if you have 15 of the accounts, then it averages out and you don't have any problem. But if you have one, then it could very well be that you're on one of these lower trajectories, or you could be on the higher trajectory. So this account's been doing great. 4,000, 3,000, 3,000, 27,000. That was splitting a gold foil legendary on that one. So it just varies, and you have to just be aware that volatility is a factor because of the way that the random number generator works, RNG, for the loot chests. So I hope this helps. And this is how I would build decks. I would start with the list from Monster Market, and then I would say, okay, I'm looking at whatever it is, 170, 200, and then optimize from there, because you don't need every single card in order to be competitive in Silver League. Last thing to consider is that if your player is good and can compete in the PAX competition, so if we go to splitterlands.com and we look at the leaderboards for silver, so top place gets 20 packs, second place gets 15, third place gets 10, and then 5s, and then 2s. So I think it's the top 25. Yeah. So if they can compete for these top 25 packs, 25 spots, 4 packs, that is a significant, because those packs are whatever it is, $1.20, something like that each. And so when you're talking about 2,300 dark ender crystals, plus $1, that's a huge bump in the return. So that is something to keep in mind. But that's obviously not something that anybody can really guarantee, because the competition gets pretty fierce. So, and then you got bots like Pizza Chain here having 800 matches. But it's just something to consider. Anyway, I hope that helps answer some of those questions about dec404. And if you have any questions, jump on the Discord, ask in there.